All right, welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast, and Trump is giving a masterclass in FAFO just hours before signing a bipartisan housing bill. The president abruptly just canceled the ceremony, declaring that he's not going to sign a single other piece of any type of legislation until lawmakers pass the Save America. Let's go. It's pretty simple. Protect our elections first, then everything else can come second. Plus, ABC News may need a new legal team. President Trump says he's preparing yet another lawsuit, this time over the network's coverage of the reflecting pool. The network already paid him $15 million once. I'm sure he wouldn't mind taking their money again. And while the media battle rages here at home, America's military is sending a pretty clear message overseas. CENTCOM announcing a senior ISIS leader was killed in a precision strike in Syria. One less terrorist, word. But first, congressmen assaulting ICE officers, judges defying the Supreme Court, and libs going absolutely mad, all over protecting the homeland. Let's do this. LaMonica McIver in court today for, nothing but the utmost display of high moral character. You remember this, pushing ICE agents around, got charged with all kinds of federal crimes for that. Well, she has moved to have the whole case dismissed today, claiming that she has absolute immunity as a congresswoman. This is such a joke. So being a congressman allows you to basically do whatever you... I mean, I know they think that, but now they're actually saying it in a court document. She considered that a peaceful protest, but was it?
I have no problem with people peacefully protesting. I believe in our First Amendment. Peacefully. Delaney Hall, I've had officers bit, hit, scratched. We had one get threatened. They were going to kill him and his family. That's peaceful?
Yeah, I'm not sure how this became such a wedge issue, but if Democrats want to play that game, well, that pendulum can swing both ways, homies. This is my favorite, when Republicans actually learn how to play by the same rules that everyone else on the left is playing by. CNN reporting, quote, the Trump administration is threatening to withhold tens of millions of dollars in federal Homeland Security funds from states unless they adopt a sweeping set of election changes. Oh, wah. Well, since we can't seem to get John Thune to do anything with securing our elections, I guess, once again, the Trump administration and his secretaries are going to have to go it alone. Like, what is the point of having a majority if we don't govern like it? Anyway, I love how CNN phrased this, too. The move is part of President Trump's campaign to root out alleged voter fraud, despite studies showing it's far rarer than he claims. Is it? I mean, those studies by who? Because everywhere we turn, we keep finding out more and more illegals are actually voting, or hobos are reportedly getting paid to vote, or they apparently found a stack of ballots for Pratt in a dumpster. We got dead people on voter rolls. Heck, the left won't even turn over the voter rolls for audits. So you can take those studies, CNN, and pretty much stick them where the sun don't shine as far as I'm concerned. But just like we told you yesterday, I think the judges are in on this too, like this judge here. We are with more nationwide injunctions from a California judge that says federal immigration officers can't arrest illegals at courthouses. Why not? The judge saying ICE is not arresting individuals who appear for criminal or civil violations unrelated to the arrest, but instead arresting non-citizens based on the very immigration offenses for which the non-citizens are appearing in immigration court for. Yeah, that's the nature of enforcement. I am really struggling to see how this judge's opinion doesn't make my case. If someone is in court challenging an arrest warrant or detention order or deportation order, whatever it is, shouldn't they be held in custody while the court makes that decision? That's how it works for, Americans. I'm pretty sure this is how everybody has to go through. Let's just say I committed a detainable offense. I don't know, I shot someone, what happens every day in Chicago. They put out an arrest warrant for me, and I report to court for my hearing. I would therefore be arrested if I hadn't already been arrested and held until I made bail. Bail, by the way, something illegals are not eligible for with deportation orders. And if you're just as confused as I am, I pretty much understand why, because yesterday, literally at the same time, the D.C. Circuit Court expanded DHS's ability to detain and deport people. Like, I'll be honest, I don't see how the Trump administration could, even if they wanted to comply with all these mixed directions. By the way, what happens when you have a judge like this California judge who just does something that's blatantly in the face of a SCOTUS ruling about nationwide injunctions? Like, do we just ignore it? How does that work? Does the judge get fired? No, actually, nothing ever happens to these judges, either because Republicans are too chicken scratch to do anything about it, like impeach them or something like that. I'm just going to throw this out there. Maybe, and we can't pass laws because we have too many weak-kneed Republicans there to actually do it, but maybe we just pass a law that if a judge has their ruling overturned by the Supreme Court, they forfeit their position and their law license. I don't know, because they got it wrong. I'm just spitballing here. Republicans, if they acted like they were in the majority, we could do something like this. But at least there's other things DHS is doing on the horizon, too. They're proposing an increase on immigration fees. Yes. In the proposed rule, they said, the Department of Homeland Security proposes to increase the general paper filing fee from $760 to $1,330, which is an increase of $570 or 75%, because it's not covering, the current price is not covering the cost to process the immigration. I'm here for this. And why not make it an even $5,000 while we're at it? I mean, the left is naturally losing their mind over this, but I don't really care, mostly because I've spent more than that for all my concealed carry permits over the years. Forget the cost of my lawsuit to get New York City to actually give me a permit in the first place, and that's a constitutional right, and I'm an American. So as far as I'm concerned, you can make it $50,000. And maybe we should ask ourselves this simple question. Do we really want people coming to this country who can't afford that? I mean, they might not be a huge asset to the homeland. Remember, no right to be a citizen here, and it should benefit us. Look, at least we're getting policies that are in the interest of America now and not freeloaders coming here in cattle cars from God knows what country. Our immigration system ain't perfect, but at least it's getting better under those who actually pay attention to what's going on on behalf of the people who actually pay the taxes here. We're here at Department of Homeland Security in Secretary Markwayne Mullin's office. Sir, appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for coming in, brother.
We saw this today. You've been talking a lot about what your ICE officers are enduring. Monica LaGyver, she was actually in court today trying to get her charges dismissed for, let's just say, being very aggressive towards federal officers. What do you make of the fact that this is a congresswoman that you're dealing with now?
Right. Well, unfortunately, you have it spilled over into the halls of Congress because you got these radical Democrats that continue to get more radical. They continue to get elected by their base, and they're fighting for how far left you can get. And they're running on defunding ICE. They're running on defunding the police. They're running on prosecuting law enforcement agencies inside the state that cooperate with ICE. And all we're doing is enforcing the law. I've said this multiple times. We don't make the laws. We enforce the laws. And guess who makes the laws? Congress. And if Congress wants to change it, then change it. But they haven't had true immigration reform since 1959. Why? Because they can't agree to it. Because you got the Democrats at this point that want open borders and no law enforcement. They don't want to enforce immigration. They don't want to enforce custom issues. They want to have just this free-for-all and allow criminals to come inside our state. And then you have Republicans that say, no, build the freaking wall. We need to know who's coming in, and if you're going to come in, you're not living off the taxpayer's dollar. You're going to actually contribute to society because you want to chase the American dream, not suck the taxpayers dry by us taking on all your issues on top of that. And then you're going to abide by the law. If you break the law, then you can be sent back, which thank goodness the Supreme Court just yesterday ruled that LPR, which is a legal permanent status, that's your green card individuals, we can be deported if they get a felony charge. We knew that all along, but because we got to fight these radical Democrats, we had to go to the court system and get it and make sure the Supreme Court made it clear.
Well, let's talk about that. Before I want to get to the wall, because I know that's getting built, but you have a judge in California saying you can't do something on a nationwide injunction, which the Supreme Court, I thought, said you couldn't do that anymore. How do you keep up with what the courts allow you, not allow you? How do you?
So just last night, what you're referring to is just yesterday, a radical activist, it's not questionable, this is an activist judge, said that we can't detain individuals in immigration court when they've already received final order. Meaning, final order means that they've went through all their appeal process, and now they are to be deported. This this activist judge says we can't do it, even though the Supreme Court ruled last year that said that a judge, a court, cannot give a nationwide injunction. So you have one court that's one judge, activist judge, that's literally trying to say that, no, I know best. I don't have to listen to the Supreme Court. So what we have to do is immediately go file an appeals, and we got to get an injunction on the court case to which this person is referring to. And at the end of the day, it's not going to stop us from deporting them. As I've said this multiple times, we're enforcing the laws, and we will follow the law. But I am enforcing all of our laws, regardless. I'm never picking and choosing. I'm enforcing.
But you just had Congress, a massive, I mean, how long was this place shut down for? 3 months, 4 months?
So 76 days completely. ICE and CBP, which Custom and Border Protection, they're the guys that are making sure that we're not getting illegals and drugs and everything coming through our border, and ICE is arresting the worst of the worst in our streets. They were shut down for 115 days. 115 days. I had people, and keep in mind, CBP and ICE, they don't just operate inside the United States. They operate where we have cooperation with other countries, too, to help stem the flow before it gets to our shores. So we're proactive, so we're not always reactive. When we wait till they get in the United States, we have to be reactive. We made a conscious push to push people out to be as proactive as we can to keep it from even getting to our shores. And some of those people hadn't been paid since February. They're having to send their kids back and their wife back or their husband back to be able to come inside the United States to be able to work, because they couldn't work in that country because they were doing a job that they were expected to do for free. That's why I said, Carl, I have the greatest job in the world. I'm this building and all of our components are full of patriots because they're willing to do their job for free to protect the homeland. That's the greatest mission I can think of. As a cabinet secretary, I'm protecting our backyards, and all the men and women here are doing the same thing, and they literally proved that they do it for free.
Yeah, no, it's shocking to me that that's the actual battle we had. Mention the wall.
Yeah.
It's getting built. This is something that everybody said could never be done. It won't be done. It'll never get done. It's getting done.
It will be done. So this time next year, if we're on the track that we're projected to be and that we're currently on, this time next year, you and I can have the same meeting right here. In fact, we'll go to the wall. And the first primary, the preliminary wall will be built from the Pacific to the Gulf of America. And then we're going to be already building the secondary wall. So the primary wall is the reason why the first Trump 45, we just built the primary wall, one wall. What we found out is that the drug cartels were going there cutting a circle in these very rural areas. And before we could respond, they would already be gotaways, or we didn't have the technology on there to detect it. So now we're building a primary wall with technology on it that we can see when it's being tampered with. What the secondary wall does is it gives us time to respond as they're trying to get through the second wall. So some of those are 150 feet apart, some are 60 feet apart, but the primary wall will be built, and the pressure's already happened. We've discovered our first tunnel. I don't know if I can release it yet or not, where it's at.
I would not.
I better not say it because I don't know what the classification. I better not. But we discovered our very first tunnel we've discovered in years because they didn't have to worry about going underground during the Biden administration, right? So for 4 years it was a free-for-all. Now we pushed them underground and we pushed them to Canada. So now we're having the pressure in Canada where they're trying to come across that border.
Well, you're doing a great job, sir. I appreciate you taking the time with us very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Talk soon.
Yep.
Coming up, Ma'am Danny and the Democrat Socialists swept all 3 of their elections last night in the primaries. Suddenly, the city that said they would never forget 9/11, siding with the Ugandan Muslim Socialists. My thoughts on this later in the show. But first, a new bill introduced to Congress that would allow DHS to revoke the citizenship of anyone convicted of fraud against federal, state, or local governments. Let's go, baby. The man behind that bill joins me next.
Coverage of the Trump rally is sponsored by Preserve Gold. Get wealth you can hold.
If they tell you I'm a traitor, it's the truth. I betrayed my country. Did I cause harm? Yes. I sacrificed people. I deserve my fate. If I had to do it again, I wouldn't hesitate.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist-recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at GetTrumpWatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Look what I just found. No ding decline on the Experian app. They show me credit cards that won't hurt my credit if I'm not approved. Turns out I care about my credit health too. Get the app from your big financial friend. Experian.
All right. As we mentioned earlier, America's immigration system was pretty much decimated under the Biden administration and has now been repaired in a year and a half under President Trump and some strong Republican backing on this side. One member of Congress introducing legislation to make our immigration system even stronger by adding additional pathways for non-citizens to be denaturalized. In this Re-Immigration Act, Congressman Andy Ogles wants to amend the Immigration Nationality Act to allow the DHS secretary to revoke the nationalization of any person if they are convicted of fraud against state or federal governments. If they knowingly join or affiliate with a foreign terrorist organization, like all this stuff is super reasonable, but there's opposition. Look, if they're convicted of aggravated felony or severe other offenses, get them the hell out of here. Once denaturalized, though, the person would be treated as if they are an illegal alien and would be subject to the removal from the country. Seems great. Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles, sir, love this. What's the opposition, though?
Well, I mean, really, when you talk to people about immigration, this is an 80-20 issue. So I have the Assimilation Act, which redoes the immigration framework. After 1965, Hart-Celler was put into place and really creates this mess that has been used and abused. There's fraud, H-1B visas, the chain migration. So that's part of it. The other issue is, all right, we have these folks here that they lied on their lots of them. Lots. And they lied on their N-400. So what do we do? So streamline the process. So if you're committing crimes, if you've been here in the last 10 years, you've committed a crime, a felony, fraud, we're going to kick you out. And we move it from the DOJ to the Naturalization Immigration Agency that handles this so they can expedite it. It becomes an administrative process versus a criminal. And that's how you do large numbers quickly. So you take someone like Mamdani, who lied on his N-400. Under this, he would be deported.
What? And what about Ilhan Omar?
We would have to see, but all I can say is if we can pass this, you're welcome to New York, because this fixes the problem, the cancer that is Mamdani and what he's doing to New York, as we saw in the recent elections.
What, you mean a Ugandan socialist who's trying to tear down New York City might have done something immoral or illegal?
Look, if you come to this country and you don't love it, you shouldn't be here.
Right.
It's that simple. We get to decide who comes in, and we get to decide who leaves. And prior to 1965, we used to have a quota system. We used to have that approach to immigration. Let's get back to common sense. We should know who's coming in. There should be a background check. You should have to have a job before you get here.
I got that for a gun.
That's right. I mean, the requirements to own a firearm in some of these states are more stringent than becoming a citizen, getting on welfare, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got to get back to common sense, which, quite frankly, under the Biden administration, common sense was thrown out the window. It was all about socialism and, quite frankly, tearing down the Constitution.
Yeah, no, 100% right. But in this bill, you also call for the establishment of a task force. And I am reticent to admit that any type of additional government layer might be good, but this actually could be possible. They were going to review the asylum and refugee claims that were, all dished out for millions of people under Biden that didn't actually need refugee status.
Absolutely. I mean, Reagan warned, the scariest phrase in the English language is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help, right? But this is one of those cases where we actually need a process. We need this task force that can expedite these individuals, get them denaturalized, and get them deported. We owe it to the American taxpayer. Look, we have veterans killing themselves at a rate of 20 to 22 a day. We have kids in the 3rd grade that can't read, write, do arithmetic. And oh, by the way, if you exit the 3rd grade and you can't read, write, do math, your likelihood of going to prison skyrockets. So if I have to choose between Americans and illegals, I choose Americans. I choose our veterans. I choose our kids. This is common sense. We've got to fix our immigration system. Fortunately, I've been working very closely with the White House, carrying the legislation to overhaul our immigration system and, quite frankly, get back to deciding who comes in and who leaves.
I love it. I got less than a minute on this. As a vet, I've had 24 friends either try or succeed in killing themselves, guys that I served with. You're introducing an amendment that would, give veteran access to specialty care if they need that care at a private facility due to VA wait times. Because, look, I like Doug Collins. I think he's doing a pretty good job, but there's still a lot of shortfalls there.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Your kid has an accident and you call 911. That 3 minutes seems like a lifetime.
Right.
If you're a veteran in crisis, not being able to get access to that care immediately is a lifetime, and it can ultimately end in that veteran taking their life. So we have to have a process that prioritizes our veterans, that prioritizes our kids, and so this is why this is so important. We're spending so much money on all of these things and all these people that shouldn't be here to begin with. Meanwhile, we have veterans who are in crisis mode. Let's defend our veterans. They fought for us. Now let's fight for them.
Yeah. Well, Congressman, I really appreciate you coming in, sir.
Absolutely.
All right. Coming up, President Trump announcing yesterday that his administration is working on the national right to carry. Will his team be able to make it happen? Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dhillon going to join me next.
There are things you can do every day to take care of your brain. Exercising, eating well, getting plenty of sleep, staying mentally active, and staying connected with friends and family are all great for your brain. Prevagen can help supplement these good habits because it's made for your brain. Add Prevagen to your daily routine and give your brain the care it deserves. Prevagen, for your brain.
Have you ever thought of getting a walk-in tub for you or someone you love? Now is a great time to take a look at getting a Safe Step walk-in tub.
With Safe Step's standard heated seat and new fast fill faucet, you can enjoy a nice warm bath up to 20% faster. And the convenient touchpad control is right at your fingertips.
Each tub comes standard with a dual hydrotherapy system. The 10 water jets can help increase mobility, relieve pain, boost energy, and improve sleep, while the MicroSoothe advanced air therapy system oxygenates and softens skin.
Safe Step walk-in tubs are built to maximize safety so you can stay in your home and enjoy the comforts of bathing again.
So call now for more information and a free no-obligation consultation.
When you call today, you'll also receive our limited time offer. Don't wait to enjoy safer bathing. Call 1-800-296-0431.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot.
They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone. Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
I wish I loved my smile.
I wish I could get implants.
I wish money wasn't so tight.
I wish I can justify the cost.
I wish my insurance could save me more on dental implants.
See what it can do at Clear Choice. Show us your insurance card and save $5,000 on fixed full double arch implants. That's insurance assurance on a smile that's built for life. Schedule your free consultation today.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
The NRA, everybody, they really have been. They've been with me right from the beginning. And Bill asked me, would I support the national right to carry legislation? How do you feel about national right to carry? National right to carry. Yeah, we're working on it.
We played this for you yesterday where Trump was in Pennsylvania saying his administration is working on a national right to carry legislation that would expand the constitutional right, or actually just give you the constitutional right that you already have for Americans to carry firearms across the nation. And just today, the DOJ's Civil Rights Division sent a letter to California Governor Gavin Newsom regarding their Glock ban, saying it's America's Second Amendment right to be able to carry. Stop banning guns that everybody carries. Here to tell us about Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Harmeet Dhillon. All right, this is the nationwide carry. Let's do first.
Okay.
What if Trump just said, hey, here's an executive order that says carrying is granted by the Second Amendment. The 10th Amendment says powers not enumerated by the Constitution fall under the states. So I'm just executive ordering nationwide carry reciprocity.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'd love to hear it as a gun enthusiast myself, and I believe that it should be the law. I think that the way you're going to see that play out is an immediate series of lawsuits by the usual suspects. And some of the challenges might include federalism. So here's why I think that's not a problem. Of course, there's a lot of analysis to be done. But there's a concept of full faith and credit, where states are supposed to give full faith and credit to certain important rulings and decisions in other states. For example, marriage. So if someone's married in one state, the next state can't say that we refuse to recognize your marriage. And so, so this is one of those areas, I believe, where states do their due diligence up front, and then they ought to respect the other states when they do that. So, but that's not the law yet, so we'll see what happens.
Let's do the Glock ban. Being a SIG guy myself, I'm omitted from this until they ban those. But this is a serious thing. First, it was the ARs, most popular rifle in America. Then they're going after Glocks, which is like one of the top most popular pistols ever. They're just going to keep chipping away.
Yes, well, I have both SIGs and Glocks. And
we can still be friends. That's good.
And I will say the Glock has about 65% of the handgun market, according to some examples. So it's a very popular firearm. And for over a decade now, California has not allowed any new firearms onto its roster of approved firearms that can be sold by retailers. And now they're saying that because the Glock theoretically can be modified in ways that California doesn't approve of, even though Glock doesn't sell the modifications, they're banning their retail sale, which is outrageous. So we've sent a letter today from the Civil Rights Division, Second Amendment section, saying that if this law goes into effect on July 1, which is the date that it's supposed to go into effect, we will sue. So we're asking the governor to and the Attorney General to stop implementation of this unconstitutional law. It's clearly at odds with Bruin and other Supreme Court precedents.
Well, they don't care, so they just do it.
They don't care.
No.
In fact, they welcome the fight, I'm sure, because it lets them fundraise and virtue signal. But we're here for the 40 million Californians who have the right to be treated the same way under our Constitution as all other Americans.
It's almost like you want to go out and encourage 40 million people to just start carrying guns under the Second Amendment and just say, you can't prosecute us all. Like, we're getting to that point with the craziness of the laws.
In many states, I mean, we have litigation going on here in D.C. And in the Virgin Islands, and amicus briefs at the Supreme Court. I argued an amicus in the Seventh Circuit regarding Illinois' so-called assault weapons ban. And we're now starting to challenge suppressor bans, like here in D.C. So we are extremely aggressive in ramping up on this. It's a very important and fundamental right.
I love it. I mean, we can go into the NFA all day on how it's useless now that there's no tax. But I want to get to this Major League Baseball thing, okay? They're on this big apology tour because of the Bible verses. They were like, they implied, they're now backing down from this. They implied basically you have to wear these gay pride hats. And the baseball guys didn't know, the players didn't know that there was an opt-out because they were never told about it.
Right.
They write these Bible verses on, and now the Major League is like, well, you didn't have to wear them. We're sorry. Like, let's like move. Hold on a sec here. They botched this from the beginning.
Yes. MLB really stepped on a rake with this one, and some of their initial commentary was like, well, the San Francisco Giants players, the ones who got into trouble and got the warnings here, they should have known that because they're from a very liberal city that embraces gay rights, that they should have to go along with that. Well, not so. Now the law is that an employer can require you to wear a uniform. They can't treat employees differently or punish them differently based on what the modifications that they make to it. And so they were happy to let people do all kinds of taking the knee and demonstrations and when they came for that, or BLM slogans or what have you. But when it came to very short and simple Bible verses, they weren't allowing it. They have backed down. They said it was a miscommunication by the Giants. I referred the matter over to the EEOC because it is a private employer. And I think, they'll do their due diligence and we'll see if it's true or not.
Yeah, I just loved when they put the banners up that said end racism. It's like, oh, thanks for solving it. Like, great job, guys.
The virtue signaling is crazy. It doesn't belong in sports.
No, just play the sport. It's unbelievable. All right, the left swears this stuff doesn't happen, but it keeps happening. A federal prosecutor in Florida announcing that 3 non-citizens were convicted of illegal voting and related election offenses in federal court. I mean, they tell us this doesn't happen.
It's happening all over. My team got a conviction with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles on a woman who was registering people and paying them on Skid Row and giving them her home address to register so that she could get money for petition gathering efforts. That's a business. She's been doing it for a long time, so she faces a prison sentence potentially. She pled guilty. This is happening all over the place, and we're seeing our DOJ prosecutors aggressively go after this issue where we find it. But you know what makes it difficult? The states are hiding the ball. They're refusing to cooperate with our audits of their voter rolls.
Shocker.
And in the states that have cooperated with us so far, I think we've run about 30 or 40% of the voter records in the United States. There are over 400,000 people who are dead on those voter rolls. We've referred almost 30,000 for investigation for not having citizenship documentation in the voter rolls, and on and on. And now you have jurisdictions that are trying to allow non-citizens to vote in local races, but they refuse to show their math as to how they're going to keep those rolls separate from the main ones. And so we have a real problem in this country.
Huge problem. Well, we appreciate someone like you on this, Harmeet Dhillon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, coming up, this sums up the liberal ideology. The lady who stole the Knicks parade trash can after dumping the trash on the sidewalk was a J.P. Morgan DEI executive. Culture Clash coming up next.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528. Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. tax relief helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528.
The pain is gone. It's gone. I was wheeled in. I couldn't even move 5 feet without the wheelchair. I was in awful pain.
Are you able to get onto the bed?
I doubt it.
No?
We went through the whole intake interview, did the MRI, x-rays. I was awake through the surgery, came back to recovery. I was there for 10 minutes, and I got up and I walked.
Venati succeeds where others fail.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time. Fatty 15 actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. That's why I take Fatty 15.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free roof tune-up with your Roofmax restoration.
Wait, I know that woman. Well, not me personally, but that's probably what Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, said when he was watching this Knicks parade and saw one of his probably overpaid DEI executives, Angie Baez, dumping a trash can on the sidewalk and then stealing the trash can, I guess, to celebrate. I don't know. She was fired, because she should be fired. Turns out JP Morgan frowns on acting like an unhinged hooligan. It's unbelievable. Another DEI position completely bites the dust. And this time, not because the company decided the position was useless, which they should do for all of them. Ashley Brasfield, senior politics reporter for the Daily Caller, and Matt Foldi, editor-in-chief of the Washington Reporter, with his bolo tie again. All right, Ashley, I don't celebrate Sports Bowl often, but when I do, I make sure I dump trash cans and steal them.
Well, what is she going to do with the trash can? That's my question. Is she going to go sell it? She's just keeping it for memorabilia? I mean, this lady, obviously the DE hire at JP Morgan, I can't believe this is like the second thing that's happened in finance world that's been interesting besides that, male affair situation that went on. What is she going to do with it? She owns a company that I think favors indigenous people and for PR firms or something is what.
For the Guatemalan water moccasin or some
so
weird
crazy.
thing like that.
She's insane, obviously.
Yeah, but Foldi, I mean, this is like one of those things that's so indicative of where we're going now. It's like those people don't have a place in polite society.
Well, JP Morgan also had the weird saga of the sexual harassment that we don't know what actually happened with the female exec and that weird
allegedly
guy. We don't know. We have no idea what happened there. They're in for some interesting time there. But honestly, look, this woman sees what New York City has become, and Carl, obviously, welcome, to D.C. You're safe here for now. And
I'm always safe, Foldi.
Well, you're safe. But, the rats everywhere, the garbage everywhere. I forgive her for thinking that you can just do all of these things with no consequence in New York City. Now, granted, I agree, every DEI job should obviously be gone. And I think JP Morgan was excited to say, okay, well, here's an excuse. We can finally, take out our own trash as well.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of taking out the trash, like I could just... you just let me and a few rednecks down in the subway system to suppress 22s. We'll take care of that rat situation.
Exactly right. Yeah,
we'd have 100,000 rats.
That's true.
Exactly. All right. So Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is pushing this Save America Act, as she should be. Now, she's saying the floor is not going to be open this week. She says she's going to vote against the rule and has enough votes to sink this. While Mike Johnson says he's going to put one in for third reconciliation that he's working on with the Senate. This is an 85-15 issue.
Yeah, the GOP currently is on two different sides of this right now. Trump is on his way and a little bit to a meeting at lunch for this, Save America effort. Because last week, Thune, the Daily Caller reported, went on record saying these Republicans in the Senate will not vote for this because they hate Trump too much. So that's where we're at with this. And obviously the House side, they're confused a little bit about this, whether it be leadership, people in the House Freedom Caucus, Luna, those types. But I mean, you're exactly right. The base wants this to happen. And very obviously from today's Truth Social post, the president wants it to happen.
Yeah, pretty clear. But look at this. We got this guy, Tom Tillis, this salty on his way out rhino, showing true colors, especially when it comes to the Save America Act, calling Senator Mike Lee's proposal for a talking filibuster on goofy stuff, saying I'll never speak ill of members when they want to be professional. They want to engage in a productive way. But when you do some of the BS he's done on social media, that's why he gets these comments out there. Like, Tillis, get out, bro.
This is the thing that I think is frustrating for Republicans right now, is that in New York City last night, they elected.
I was just say, what's this
no, but in America, I mean, America is going to have literal anti-American, we were talking about pieces of trash, pieces of filth who celebrate communism, who celebrate actual genocide of Israelis being murdered and raped by Palestinian animals. Republicans should be focusing on how insane Democrats are. Instead, you're sniping about a procedural thing that most people in America don't really understand or think about, quite frankly, that much. But when you can talk about how the Democrats are going to have a full-blown bona fide Mamdani caucus running amok, and if Democrats have a narrow House majority, these are people who are going to be deciding the future of legislation. Oh, yeah. My advice to Republicans would be, look at what is going on with the Democratic Party. We talked on the Right Squad last night about how every single Democrat is, of course, opposed to the Save America Act, because I just voted in Maryland in our primary yesterday. No ID required whatsoever. Democrats are on the 15% side, federally speaking, of this legislation. That is what Republicans should be focused on, especially as we're, 4 months away from the election. The Democrats are having a full-blown communist takeover of their party, and Republicans are talking about Senate procedure. That is probably not how you get people to vote.
Not firing the lib parliamentarian who's just not letting things come to the floor, which I think is insane.
Maybe she should go to the Knicks parade.
With the DEI executive.
Take up some trash.
Former DEI executive. Connecticut leftist, though, my Senator Chris Murphy, gone full conspiracy theorist when it comes to Trump's deal with Iran. Roll this.
As we are currently debating an Iran deal that basically exists on Iran's terms, why was there a flood of money from Iranian regime-backed entities into the Trump crypto companies? Why were they putting that investment in?
I'm sorry, if it rains on Thursdays, do pancakes go on roofs? Like, that's all I heard.
I mean, look, the thing with the deal in Iran, I think there's going to be profitability. Welcome to politics in some way. There's Gulf states, being involved in this.
Half Congress outperforms the S&P.
Right, but that's my point here. It's, ethically, it's questionable, of course, but I mean, the Bidens did it. Everybody has done it. I mean, you can call that into question, but I mean, you're going to put a target on your back, Chris Murphy, at this point, is my thing. So, I mean, I guess don't make a mistake here on your end.
What is surprising, by the way, is that obviously we've seen this sand people regime in Iran that is run by the gay Ayatollah, who I assume is celebrating Pride Month. Chris Murphy,
one of the next living ones.
One of the current one with like one leg. And anyway, Chris Murphy is talking about how, look, the MOU does give Iran some wins. That's why I'm surprised Chris Murphy is opposing it.
Yeah, well, he's in his own. I don't think anybody takes him seriously. Matt, Ashley, we appreciate it.
Pleasure as always. Come back soon.
All right, coming up, don't look now, but it looks like the Democrats have a new leader in their party. My thoughts on the rise of this Ugandan socialist moron next.
Average price for a gallon of gas? $4.43.
That's extortion.
Price for Paramount Plus? 99 cents per month for the first 2 months.
That sounds like a good deal.
You ready?
I love it.
Lots of other prices may be crazy, but ours is not.
It's my home.
The Paramount Plus Summer Sale, just 99 cents per month for the first 2 months.
Nobody knows Corvettes like McMulkin Chevrolet, the world's largest Corvette dealer for 5 consecutive years. Set apart by its name alone, Corvette delivers a legacy of American craftsmanship, and a vehicle that sets the bar for performance cars deserves a buying experience that beats it. With hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery nationwide, it's no wonder Corvette enthusiasts from across the USA keep coming back to McMulkin Chevrolet.
There's no way a mouthwash can prevent bad breath for 12 hours.
You're right, Bill. Mouthwash can't, but this is dentist-developed Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash.
Activated?
Yeah, if your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. See, this plus this activate for 12 hours of bad breath prevention, guaranteed. Try it. You won't have bad breath in the morning. Good night, Bill.
Get dentist-developed Smart Mouth today. It's the smarter mouthwash, available at these fine retailers.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more of the light inside of me.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
We've been building chainsaws for over 100 years. Now, that century of cutting comes in a mower. New blade, same bloodline. Right now, save $50 on select mowers. Steel.
I think we can see from each of these candidates that they have exactly what it takes to succeed. And we've heard from Republicans time and again that they're going to try and make these candidates the face of the Democratic Party. To them, I say that we are ready for that.
I don't think you are. Ma'am Danny swept all three of his radical elections last night. The Ugandan Muslim socialist somehow turned the mayor of the city that said that they would never forget 9/11, unseating two very well-established congressmen, both endorsed by Hakeem Jeffries. You had two-term Dan Goldman, bounced, and five-term Adriana Espaillat, bounced. Remember that Elon meme from a few years ago? Yeah, this one right here, where like, he was like, the left has gone absolutely crazy and full socialist. Here are the two reps, by the way, that got bounced for apparently not being far left enough.
Donald Trump, who, when we take the majority, we are going to be able to hold accountable. I have direct and specific experience doing that, leading the first impeachment investigation.
I fight ICE every day, not just when it's popular, not just when they conduct the raid. I've been fighting them since they were the Migra.
Yeah, those guys apparently weren't far left enough. So New York elected people like this. A woman who openly said that she used the American flag as a napkin, defund the police face mask, social. Good luck, New York. Keep in mind, your mayor endorsed that. The mayor of the city, again, that said they would never forget 9/11, clearly forgot. At this point, I'm just waiting for the civil war that they keep promising us. Can you imagine how that would go? Believable. 22 million veterans versus people like her. Honey, I'll be home for lunch because I got to go squash socialism real quick. We've seen this before. Who is that woman? Look at this. 32-year-old community organizer, Democrat socialist, involved in pro-Palestine protests. Sounds like Barack Obama. You know, because we'd never heard of him before. He was a community organizer and then a 2-year senator before becoming president. And before you know it, our health care costs went up by like, I don't know, 300%. This woman is going to be in Congress. They control the finances of our country, and she has about zero budgetary experience. She has never created a product in her life. She's never balanced a budget or signed the front of a paycheck, just like AOC. She was a bartender before she got to Congress. But look, I love the idea that here in America, anyone can rise to become a congressman from any background. But the people on the left who do hate the country for it. Ilhan Omar has every reason to love this country with all of our hearts. She was a refugee. Granted, her father was a warlord that committed genocide, but she was welcomed into our country with our generosity, rising to a congresswoman status with a $30 million winery that was actually just reevaluated at, $200. But forget that part. That woman hates this country. She presides over a congressional district where her Somali constituents stole $9 billion. This is why we're $40 trillion in debt. These are the people managing a $7 trillion a year budget. And what's funny is they think they're winning on this.
Everybody's moving in a more progressive direction on economics, and I personally think that's a good thing. The Democrats need to do more to show working Americans that we're on your side and we're going to fight for you.
We're not moving that way. We're just more and more in debt. You guys are moving that way, you libs, because you don't understand basic economics. That's why Biden had 9% inflation. This is the product of Democrat socialists. This is the new model that they're seeking. Full takeover and install socialism. Sure, they wrap it in a bow and call it something nice, but it's still socialism. You don't even polish a turd so much. Perfect example. They are telling the lower income masses that, hey, like, we're for you guys. We're here to help you out. Check this out. A new report from Politico says that rent collections are down in New York City. Why are rent collections down in New York? Well, this is the model. They make the laws that make eviction for property owners almost impossible. So people are like, yeah, well, then why would I pay rent if they can't get rid of me? Then the landlords don't have any income, so they can't afford to maintain their properties. Then the same government passes weird laws at 2 a.m. so nobody can read them before they vote on them. They swoop in, and then they take control of their property because, well, it wasn't maintained, and that's the new law. Any various egalitarian economic political theories or movements advocating collective or governmental ownership and administration of the means of production and distribution of goods. That's the definition of socialism. That's literally what they're doing in New York right now. And how many times has socialism ever worked? Zero? Like it's always a collapse? But the new left is comprised of like a bunch of idiots who are too stupid to succeed in any sector that requires any actual deliverables. So they've been convinced by other idiots that use big words to try to sound smart that it's not their stupidity that holds them back, but it's the system, and therefore the government should control the whole system, make everything, take it all to make sure that Elon gives all his money and property and it's confiscated and given to the people that never could achieve that on their own. And people like Hakeem, who is a far-left ideologue, apparently is not far-left enough and isn't seeing that he's not in charge of his party anymore.
Do you see Mamdani as the future of the Democratic Party?
No, I think the future of the Democratic Party is going to fall, as far as we're concerned, relative to the House Democratic Caucus and members.
I don't even know what he's saying right now, but basically, no, he doesn't think, but he is. Look, the takeover is, I'll give him credit, it's actually kind of intelligent. No, it's not being orchestrated by the actual people that are being elected. Those folks are just pawns and they don't even know. But the people behind the scenes that are dumping huge amounts of resources into very safe, very far left, what they are calling commie corridors, where they can edge out sitting Democrats and they just run to the left of them and put in these like nut job communists and still be all but guaranteed to win the general election because it's so blue anyway. And then they're just going to steer the party once they get into office so far left that it's literally, we're basically back to the Cold War, only in America. You watch. This is the kind of stuff that tees up AOC for a presidential run. Look, will the country elect her? I hope not. I don't think so. But it will be a ton of content for this show. Anyway, before we go, if you like driving through Texas, be on the lookout for a roaming giraffe. What? Next.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
Healthy aging support starts here with the innovative nitric oxide science pioneered by Human, supporting your body from the heart out through circulation, blood flow, blood pressure, and energy. Results you can feel, science you can trust. Save up to 40% off on Amazon Prime Day.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Sensitive mouth and gums? Ever heard of Closest mouthwash? Your dentist and hygienist have. They know Closest is ultra gentle for sensitive mouths with non-burning mouthwashes that freshen breath, improve gum health, and strengthen teeth. Closest, the gentle mouthwash for sensitive mouths.
As history's preeminent expert on emergency communication, I fully endorse Rapid Radios. They are the only nationwide license-free push-to-talk walkie-talkies without any monthly fees. That's right, you get access to most carriers' networks without a contract. With Rapid Radios, you can communicate instantly from this Washington to that one. Isn't that right, George?
Darn straight. And I don't lie. That's my thing.
Now I know what you're thinking. I don't need no fancy highfalutin walkie-talkie. I've got a cell phone. Cell phones are notoriously unreliable during emergencies and when you're in the middle of nowhere. Plus, Rapid Radios are great for remote adventures, emergency preparedness, and workplace communications, and for keeping in touch with your loved ones.
Hey, Pa. Over.
You make me so proud, son. Over. Get your family connected with Rapid Radios today.
Go to rapidradios.com and get up to 60% off today. Plus, free shipping. Rapid Radios. The best way to stay connected.
You might take something for your heart or your joints. So why wouldn't you take something for the most important part of you, your brain? Prevagen for your brain.
Hi, I'm Karan. I've been taking Prevagen for 4 years now. I noticed a significant change. I feel confident.
Prevagen for your brain. Every day presents a new opportunity for you to take care of your brain. Supplement your good brain habits with Prevagen. Prevagen for your brain.
I mean, it's tough going missing when you're the tallest land mammal in the world. That's exactly what happened in Texas. A giraffe named Gracie just went missing from a Texas ranch for like 2 weeks. The county sheriff, Nathan Johnson, saying that he laughed when he caught the call.
It found a way outside of the high game fence. And after that, it's been on a fling, just enjoying the more rugged parts of Real County. I chuckled when I got the first call because it's my first missing giraffe case. It's hired helicopters, they've flown it with drones. We've got a lot of people in our county kind of keeping a watchful eye.
Weird, maybe put up more than a 6-foot-high fence for a giraffe. It's a $5,000 reward for the animal's safe return being offered. Rob Schmidt coming up next.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.